Now, for reaction to the dire financial state of municipalities, I'm joined by Dr. Tracey Ledger, who is the head of research at the Public Affairs Research Institute. Dr. Tracey, thank you so much for talking to us today. It's certainly a worrying picture.
Yes, I think it is a worrying picture. The regression is very disturbing. I think that it's quite clear that there are a hard core of municipalities that have just failed to register any improvement over an extended period of time. But I think more than the audit outcomes themselves, the headline audit outcomes, is what the audit report reveals about the state of finances of local government. So one of the things that caught my eye was that the Auditor General said that 79% of all municipalities were in a questionable financial state, and that a third of them could be described as being in serious financial trouble. And I think we need to understand that this is the audit report up until the 30th of June last year. So it's the audit report before any of the impact of the coronavirus pandemic has impacted local government. So if before the pandemic, local finances were in such a bad state, we can only begin to imagine the disastrous state that they are in at the moment, with so many municipal customers unable to pay their accounts.
And I mean, just latching on to that point there, it then presents another worrying case that those at the helm of these municipalities have been described as somewhat weak and even abdicating their responsibilities to consultants.
Look, I mean, I think that there has been a problem for a long time with the outsourcing of basic services in government. But there's also a failure to prescribe, to adhere to regulation. So our research has shown very clearly that if you have suitably qualified and skilled people in the position of municipal manager and chief financial officer and the other senior positions in a local municipality, there is a much, much higher possibility that you will have good financial management and governance outcomes. Now, in 2005, National Treasury issued regulations for the minimum competency requirements for these managers. And to date, less than half of municipalities have complied. So this is a blatant disregard for regulation to ensure that we've got the right kind of skills in senior management in local government.
And it therefore is not surprising when some of these managers are then, shifting the responsibility, particularly when it comes to critical statements like financial statements, to the consultants themselves to make sense of and then answer critical questions to auditors.
Exactly. And I think, there's an underlying problem here is that what happens normally is that the consultants are appointed to come in and do the annual financial statements just a few months before the financial year end. What we have found is that in a lot of these very poorly managed municipalities is that there is essentially nothing in the way of basic administration and filing. There's no basic filing of documents. There's no basic categorization of financial statements. So what happens is the consultants come in 9 times out of 10, they can't even find all the pieces of paper that they need to do the financial statements. So firstly, we're wasting the money on paying these consultants to do the annual financial statements. But secondly, we're not addressing the underlying cause of this, which is actually basic administration and basic filing is much more important to get right in the municipality so that there actually is a paper trail. I mean, the municipalities that have a disclaimer audit, which some municipalities have had for years and years and years, what that means is that the Auditor General literally could not find enough pieces of paper to come to a conclusion about the state of finances in that municipality.
And looking at what he said in his closing statement here, one of the things is that strong leadership is needed to overturn some of the audit outcomes that he has been seeing and we have been seeing as a country over the years. And you look at, municipalities like some in the Northwest where there's a systematic breakdown in discipline as well as financial controls. What needs to be done at leadership level in order to make sure that there is a full turnaround? Because a picture of 20 out of 257 municipalities with a clean audit certainly needs to be a cause for concern, particularly where accountability is concerned.
I think I think we can conclude that there is a general lack of commitment to adhere to some of the real basics. So, we understand that in some smaller municipalities where people don't pay their accounts and households are very poor, that things are very difficult. But there is no reason why a municipality should not appoint a suitably qualified person in a senior 57 manager position. There's absolutely no reason for not doing that, except that you don't want to do it. At the risk of kind of pulling out one of the municipalities, one of the district municipalities, Ngaka Modiru Molema district municipality. I mean, that municipality in this audit year didn't submit their statements on time, but for practically every single year before then, the municipality has had a disclaimer audit. It has not been able to be fixed. That municipality has been under Section 139 interventions, I think, 5 times. At some point, we have to say we have to do something different. We cannot just continue with this absolutely dreadful state of local government. And the point is that we are now, I would think, in a much, much, much worse position. If you cannot manage a municipality to the extent that you can collect enough pieces of paper to get an audit. And the Auditor General in this report as well also highlighted the very poor state of infrastructure maintenance and water infrastructure. What do we think local government is going to look like when they do the audit for this year and the effects of the coronavirus pandemic is really being felt? And
before I let you go, Dr. Ledger, one of the other concerning points here, it was raised as, in reaction after, the AG's report. It was that there needs to now be an apportionment of money that needs to go towards, municipalities to make sure that they do the repair and maintenance of some of their own infrastructure. But it does look like there is no record keeping when it comes to such a critical audit when you're looking at infrastructure.
Look, I think we need to be very careful about the allocation of these funds. We have an extremely severely constrained fiscal envelope at the moment. We cannot afford for a single cent of public money to go missing. My thinking on the subject would be that we need to have a very close look at governance outcomes. Where a municipality is incapable over a prolonged period of time of getting anything better than a disclaimer audit outcome, I don't think it's wise to trust that municipality with their own management of that money. And in those cases, I think if municipalities are unable to meet a minimum governance threshold, the funds for emergency infrastructure, water and sanitation need to be managed by the province, if the province itself is competent, or they need to be managed through a national forum. It's just asking for trouble to hand over large amounts of money to municipalities that have got a 10, 15-year track record of not managing that money properly.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ledger, for putting us into the picture there and giving us your reaction and some of the possible solutions for what needs to be done to turn things around in our municipalities.